Crypto gaming was once considered the future of gaming, decentralized assets, the future of monetizing your time inside of video games, as well as just taking the power away from these big studios that are extracting you from microtransactions, aka the things you pay for inside of games. But of course, over the last 3 years, really since crypto gaming was the hottest asset class in crypto in 2021, we're seeing a lot of struggles. We're seeing studios go under. Some of the biggest names quitting crypto gaming as well. And the timeline on crypto Twitter and across YouTube is starting to get very bearish on the future of crypto gaming. So in this video, I'm going to go over what's been good, what's been bad, what's been very ugly in the industry, and to give you insights on my thoughts if crypto gaming is dead or if we are going to see the cream rise to the top over the course of time. So in this video, we're going to get into everything regarding the crypto gaming space. So without further ado, let's get in the game. And as always, before we dive into it, be sure to drop down, hit that like button, and subscribe to the channel for more every single day and every week here on In the Game. We have you covered from gaming, AI, meme coins, RWA, and more to keep you up to date in these markets. Obviously, the market has been very much in turmoil over the last few weeks, but we have you covered here every week. Hit the like and subscribe down below. As well, a big shout out to our sponsors here on In the Game. We have some amazing sponsors from Ledger, Moontropica, we have Medieval Empires, as well as Cradle Games, and of course our exchange partners. And this has been a trader's market. It has not been a holder's market. So if you are looking for a reliable spot to place trades, longs, shorts, etc., I would check out Blowfin in the description down below. In these types of markets, this is what I'm using every single day. Whenever I see a play trending or I know that an unlock's coming for a token and I want to play a short or a long position, I am using Blowfin. So guys, check out Blowfin down below. No KYC, easy withdrawals, easy deposits. You can check that out in the description down below. Now let's dive into it. Obviously the market, like I said, has been in turmoil. If we look at the 7-day charts, I mean, a lot of the stuff that is pumping is just kind of like big time relief bounces. Some of it just kind of seems inorganic. Heroes of Mavia is up 400% this week. To me, there's no reason that should be the case, but whatever. It's just interesting to see kind of the things that are recovering. But we also see Caspa up 30% this week. We have Echelon Prime up 27% on the weekly, as well as a lot of other coins here bouncing between that 15 to 25% range. So at least we're seeing a little bit of relief, or at least consolidation and sideways price action for some of these altcoins, because it has been a painful couple of months here in the altcoin sectors. But right now, I want to dive into a topic that obviously is very close to my heart and what got me really deep into the crypto industry. I had been in crypto since 2017. I was buying Bitcoin at that time, didn't really know what I was doing. I was on a college student's budget, DCAing $10, $20 at a time, just, trying to figure out, what Bitcoin was and learn more about it. Heading into the 2021 cycle, I was very privy on what altcoins were, but I was a big time gamer. I was playing Warzone every single night. It was after 2020 happened and gaming was at the peak that it had been at that point in time. And I mean, quite frankly, I had been playing video games my whole life, just competing in esports, tournaments, etc. So I knew a lot about crypto and I knew a lot about games. So whenever Axie Infinity started popping off, that was the one thing it made so much sense to me, was assets in games, microtransactions that you own. Like decentralized gaming to me just made way too much sense when I looked at my Warzone inventory of skins, assets, guns that I've bought but actually don't own. Like, I haven't touched all my Warzone 1 assets. Actually are erased. They're in the they're in the abyss. I don't have those anymore because they transitioned to Warzone 2. So those types of things to me really made a lot of sense. If I'm going to spend time and money in these games, I want to at least have some value and some resale value on those. And we've seen successes from this, like CSGO. But obviously, since the initial iterations of crypto gaming, and crypto gaming, like I said at the beginning of this show, in 2021 was the hot niche, hot narrative. Like, gaming came onto the scene so strong. It was really one of the leading drivers. It was the AI of this cycle. Like, gaming came out of nowhere. It was new. It was adventurous. A lot of new teams and games were popping up. But I think one thing that we really need to reconsider is the way we invest and the way that we treat this industry. Because, of course, recently we've seen a lot of downfalls. Like, we see Dead Drop, Dr. Disrespect Studio. They have announced closure, which is at one point heralded as one of the biggest and best, most promising games in all of crypto. So they have gone under. Dimensionals, who has raised so much money off of the backs of Web3, they have left the space. We see the Mystery Society shutting down. We see blockchain game studio Battlebound shut down. I could go so deep into how many game studios have been closing their doors. And this was last year. This article here was over a year ago. I would have to bet that over 50% of blockchain games have been discontinued at this point in time. And to be quite honest with you, I don't think that that's surprising. If we look at the Steam charts here, all of these games really that are at the top of Steam, these are, kingmaker games. We're talking about GTA, Apex Legends, Rust, Dota, PUBG, Counter-Strike. These are franchises. These are dominant forces in the gaming industry. And I love some of these tweets here. Lots of hot takes about gaming on the timeline. And I think the gaming is or isn't dead debate is kind of silly, as the reality, and this is true, you can look this up and you can be fact checked, that 99% of games in crypto are complete and total garbage. And I do agree with that. I mean, most of the product that we see in crypto gaming is absolutely abysmal, just to, be honest. But it's actually not that far off, as 99.98% of actual regular Web 2 traditional games actually fail as well. If you were to filter those Steam charts to the bottom, there's way more games with 0 players than games with players. Like, games die. And as this tweet here says, it is a hits-based industry, right? 90% of all players in gaming are just playing the hits. Like, there's only a small subsector that are playing anything below that. So, like this tweet says here from 𝗙𝗂𝗏, the well-funded studios, the raise tons of money and hope that, we can make out with a token launch, I feel like those grifts are overblown now. We've seen too many of that, but I think there's so many promising things around the corner. SparkC here says the most talented teams aren't ready yet. We haven't seen even tested the most promising ideas. And if we succeed, the final form will, of course, look much different than it does today. Now, I'll just kind of hit on some of these things, as all of these closures that I'm filtering through right now have happened. As you see the Steam charts, the real games that stick around are the ones with the big names, the big budgets, as well as just a crazy fan base that has been developed literally over decades worth of time. And of course, gaming's been rough. If we just scroll through this list, 95% of these are absolute garbage, or have already, capitulated in the space. And of course, from an asset class perspective, it has been the most brutal. I mean, when we look at just the 30-day charts here, let's just look at 30 days. A lot of the things that have been hit the hardest are, games, gaming ecosystems, etc. I mean, AI and meme coins took the biggest hits actually this time around. But, gaming as an asset class has been rough. But I feel like we're doing this all wrong. And here's what I'm saying here. I think that when you form an investment thesis around such a speculative asset, you have to have a theory or an ideology that is not as risk on. Because number one, gaming investing is risk on. If you think you're going to come in and pick the next Fortnite, which, you might see a game and you're like, wow, that's revolutionary. I think that's the one. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put all my eggs in that basket and I'm going to roll with it. I think that's a flawed mentality. And I've always preached on this channel to not do that, because I am invested in crypto games and I'm invested in crypto gaming as a whole. I think that this industry will eventually grab some legs, but it's going to be a small amount of games that do it. So if you're investing in individual games, NFTs inside of games, I think that you have a 99% chance of failure there. The attention in this industry moves way too quickly. There's a hot item, and then the next hot item comes out. And once the financialization or the ROI on something diminishes, people move on to the next thing. We saw it with memes. We saw it with AI agents. We've seen it play out time and time again. And right now, On-Chain Heroes was popular. Why? Because it has Ponzi-nomics. People can go in, they can actually play it and actually make a little bit of money. So there are fun games in crypto, but once the attention shifts, once the token starts going down because people are selling it too much inside the economy, it's just a game of who's the earliest, and people get kind of scared to buy later into some of these games because we've seen it happen over the course of time with 𝗥𝗓, with 𝗥𝗏𝗄, with Krabata, with DeFi Kingdoms, so many Ponzi games over the course of time that you invest in, but you're scared because you got in a little late. And that usually does actually end up being the case, that early adopters make by far the most and are able to exit out while, exit liquidity comes to the door. But that's just crypto at the end of the day. So a lot of people say in crypto gaming, well, if the game's good, that's all that matters. Well, couldn't be further from the case, right? At the end of the day, I've seen lots of good games actually come through the door, but their economy sucks and there's no longevity there, right? And the one big example to me, and this is an OG one, is 𝗨𝗏𝗏𝗏. 𝗨𝗏𝗏𝗏 had everything. It was a great game. It was the most fun mobile game I've played in crypto to this day, like by far. And they had everything going. They had player base. They had all the metrics you could ask for, but their in-game economy was absolutely tragic. It drove people away quicker than you can even snap a finger. And that's Web3 for you. It is a financialized asset class and a financialized industry. So if a team's not willing to lean into the economy and make it a little bit degen and make it a little, try to make it healthy and sustainable long-term, you can't really complain. Your game can be good, but people are in crypto for a reason, right? And that is to eventually make money. So for me, this is why I invest in tons of ecosystems. I invest in Ronin, Beam, Prime, AVAX, stuff like Superverse, etc. I'm investing my eggs and the baskets that I have into chains, studios, and ecosystems, because all you need at that point in time is an off the grid or a MapleStory to hit on Avalanche. Boom, you're gonna win on your Avalanche play over long term. You can see IMX with RavenQuest, My Pet Hooligan with Arbitrum, their upcoming chain. We have On-Chain Heroes on Abstract, Parallel building on their own chain now with their Prime chain on B3. Ronin obviously is the king of gaming chains at this point in time. All of their metrics between what we've seen over the course of time, every game that they push, the metrics are just absolutely insane. And there are a lot of successes going on in gaming right now. But for me, I'd rather place my eggs in the higher up. I'd rather invest in Epic Games than try to pick the next Fortnite. And that's been my ideology for quite some time. And honestly, at this point, that's why I've cut out individual games almost entirely out of my long-term portfolios. But to answer the question if gaming is dead, absolutely not. Let's look at some of the success cases. Off the grid metrics are going absolutely insane. If you look at Avalanche Layer 1s, gaming accounts for 31% of Avalanche Layer 1s. This is absolutely insane dominance on one of the biggest L1 chains that gives businesses an opportunity to use their technology for their own chain. Boom. Gaming, 31.4% of all Avalanche Layer 1s. And we see here off the grid, 14 million unique addresses, 2.5 million daily transactions, and 571,000 daily active users. I think once this goes on chain, as you can see here, it's in testnet right now. We're in the pre-mainnet phase. There's no token. There's no real tradable assets yet. But once people can start trading their assets, I do think off the grid is the most frictionless experience for Web3 that is Web3. Like a lot of people on the timeline will say, well, off the grid isn't even crypto, but it is. And once they install the token into the game, once it's on mainnet, that is going to completely change the game, in my opinion. We see MapleStory with over 200,000 users in their playtest. Right now, we see RavenQuest, which is basically the Web3 version of RuneScape. I played a little bit this weekend. It's actually very solid, and it's not even my type of game, but I did really enjoy my time in it. It had 9,000 viewers this weekend in the MMO category on Twitch. This is at one time as well. And as we see here, 220,000 active Web 2 players, 10 plus use cases for the Quest token. RavenQuest game has entered the arena. So RavenQuest, if you want to place a bet on that, you would invest in the overarching ecosystem as well, which is IMX. So this is why I've been a big proponent of just invest in the chains and the things above these games that are distributing and have basically it's the ideology of the gold rush. You don't want to, go for the gold. You want to sell the picks and the shovels, right? As you sell the shovels, you're going to get richer than those that are using the shovels to go try to dig for gold. And in this instance, the shovels are the studios, and digging for gold is trying to figure out which game is going to be the hit in Web3, which has been a very, very hard proposition at this point in time. Gabe Layden, last month we covered this, posted that Web3 mobile game Night Crows is on a path for $200 million in revenue in its first year. And crypto Twitter apparently can care less. And, now that people are talking about, oh, crypto gaming is dead, well, he posted this 1 month ago, and it's still true, as he says. Inhuman shows here that, on-chain heroes assets are very steady. Like, the season 1 has ended. The Ponzi, for now, has stopped. There's no earnings right now inside the game, and the floor price is still 0.36 ETH on these assets currently, which is absolutely stellar to see. So as I mentioned here, On-Chain Heroes holding steady even after season 1. You can't play the game right now, and the assets are holding steady. That just shows the conviction people have in Abstract's leading app right now, which is On-Chain Heroes. We have Parallel coming out with their shooter, Sanctuary. We have My Pet Hooligan coming to Xbox, coming out with their studio chain as well. A lot of developments going on in the gaming space right now, and people just seem to ignore the successes and really roll with the failures. But this comes back to the fact that 99% of any game fails. Most game developers, I saw a stat today as well, I think it's 15% of game developers make all the money in gaming. The other 85% are not profitable or don't make money. So it's a very cutthroat industry from top to bottom, from building to investing to VC work in the gaming industry, trying to pick the next Fortnite. And I've used this analogy a lot, but it is true. After Fortnite came out, I could only imagine how many venture capital firms went broke or lost money thinking that they could find what the next Fortnite would be. And that's basically what all of gaming has been at this point in time, is just speculating on this is going to be the game, this is going to be the one, when in reality, I think that's the flawed mentality. And if you bet on individual games, you're going to get hurt more than just investing in these top layers. AVAX, Ronin, Immutable, Prime, Beam, Ronin, Superverse, all these different types of coins, because you're betting on a basket of games, blockchains that actually have real activity. I think that's the way to go if you have a thesis in Web3 gaming. There are exceptions. I like Wilder World. I do think that My Pet Hooligan has a big shot to succeed. I love Prime, even though now it is an ecosystem token. Moon Tropica is a small game that I'm betting on as well. But for the most part, now 90% of my gaming portfolio is just in the studios, infrastructures, and chains. And I think that's how you have to bet on this, because it is a high risk industry regardless. But I think if you want a chance of success, that is the way to go. And then a little bit of alpha. If you have Prime tokens, we've talked about this for a while. Right now, 1% of the total supply is available if you just literally create a wallet on the Wayfinder app, and 1% of the prompt supply is also available for depositors of $10 or more across different networks supported by Wayfinder. And if you stake today, there's still 30% of the total supply of prompt up for grabs for long-term stakers as well. We covered this on Friday. I'll cover it today. Launch pool number 3 for Gomble Games' upcoming token, the G token, and to farm WinG. This has gone live today. I will leave you guys a link in the description down below to go check this out. You can see the breakdown on this tweet at Gomble Games as well. This runs until March 31st. So you have 2 full weeks to farm this airdrop. And like I said, if you're out of dry powder, don't have liquidity, right now is the time to go play around with early chains, play around with apps, play around with some games, get some airdrops, qualify for these future things that you could potentially ROI on, and you can credit that to the time right now that you spent while the market isn't as hot as we foresee it to be potentially later this year. So guys, to sum it up, Web3 gaming is battered and bruised. It is not dead. And really, if by those metrics, you could say that the gaming industry is, it is down right now as well. If you look at overall gaming revenue, just the way that things are going, like Call of Duty is having a flop of a year with their game this year. It's just not going well whatsoever. And 99% of traditional games fail. So why wouldn't 99.5% of crypto games are failing? Because it is a completely blue ocean of opportunity, but there's also so many mess ups that can happen during that time period of trying to evolve into a emerging industry, which is crypto gaming. But the successes are often whispered while the failures are shouted. But if you dig deep and you actually look at the good things going on in the ecosystems, I think you can really confidently say that crypto gaming isn't dead. It's just going to take a little bit for it to really catch on. And, you know, we're about 3.5 years into crypto gaming being like this big niche. But gaming didn't happen in 3.5 years whenever it really took off. AAA gaming didn't happen in 3.5 years. So I think the timeline is also very important to consider. But I do think we're going to see big successes like Off the Grid, MapleStory, Raven Quest, Parallel, their whole ecosystem over the course of this bull market, which is going to spark a lot of interest into crypto gaming, and I think will give a spark to crypto gaming tokens at some point this bull run. So guys, like the video down below, subscribe to the channel. I'll be back later this week with more coverage across the market and more. Of course, guys, play well, my friends, and stay bullish, my friends.